Yeah, good morning and welcome to this thing. I wonder if I become actually a uh, environmental person. So last time I did this nuclear power plant thing. This time it's about plastic and recycling. And to be honest, it was uh, quite shocking to watch the video about plastic from a German TV station called NDR. Just to put this maybe slightly into perspective, so the NDR is part of the public official stations we have in Germany. So we have basically private stations which are financed through advertisements or pay TV, and we have those public ones which are paid essentially through a almost tax like system. And whatever you think of, whatever the Germans are thinking about these kinds of TV stations, what they are undeniably good at is in terms they have quite a good amount of money. They don't have to produce stuff based on what people would want to see, so they don't have to go for, let's say, cheap, easy, sensational things, but they can actually invest their money into research and not think too much about the marketing aspect. And usually this produces really high quality documentations, which we Germans are a bit proud of. At least I am, because it's really high quality TV and normally quite reliable sources. In this video, which goes for 1 hour 50 minutes, or in this documentation, what they basically are saying is that um, it's really hard to recycle plastic. So um, the main problem is that plastic doesn't come in a clean mm, and the different kinds of plastic in different chunks. So they are the bags are dirty. They're still having dishwasher and nutrition inside. So basically stains of it, and then there are multi labeled. So you have a level of, let's say, this kind of plastic, and then there's an imprint on the next which has a different kind of plastic, and this is so tightly put together that it's impossible to really recycle, or really really hard. And really really hard means really really expensive. So in a laboratory it is actually possible, according to one of the people in the movie, it's very possible to recycle everything, but the amount of money you have to invest into this recycling is enormous. And what happens to most of our plastic, at least in Germany, that's the percentages that were given, is that we recycle very little, so around about 5%. And the rest is more or less either shipped to other countries, legally or illegally. And then um, once it's shipped, what usually happens in these other countries is slightly the same as it happens in Germany. So we will, in Germany, where what is not recyclable goes into power plants or into cement factories and is being burned. And some of it goes onto waste deposits. What is being shipped over to other countries is going there on official or unofficial deposits, so basically just into the nature, and is also being burned there. You know, this is not shocking at all. This is unfortunately something I knew before, that our way of dealing with waste in total is not great. Yeah, so because we were doing this stuff with the plastic, but also with other kinds of waste already. We, as a human, as mankind, we seem to be fine with, for instance, with nuclear power as one example, like from the last video, but also with all other types of garbage, to have not really a good solution for how we deal with the garbage. How do we recycle it? How do we make sure that this is a sustainable, even if it was a bit long running, but in the long run is a sustainable cycle. And with plastic, it's just the same. What I didn't know, and this is so shocking, is we in Germany, we have different kinds of bins, and I think it's in quite a few European countries the same. We have a plastic bin where certain metals, so from cans basically, and then it's mostly different kinds of plastic. They go into this yellow stuff, and there are parts of Germany where it's amazing how much time people need to invest here. So you have to clean your yogurt can basically, or cup, and you have to rip off the aluminium thing on the top, so, and then you are able to put the two things next to each other. But if you think about it, that we are doing this in Germany quite thoroughly, and that the recycling quote is round about 5%, and the rest more or less goes in, is being fired up, or is being maybe downcycled. That also happens to some, and a lot still gets dumped into other countries' dump deposits, or they're into cement factories if we are lucky. Then why is it so hard to recycle that stuff? Yeah, it's because of this different kinds of plastics and the dirt and the price, and it's so much easier and less cost or heavy intensive to just throw it away. But at the same time, we are still urged to distinguish between plastic and rest garbage, basically. Yeah, so we still do this. And you know, when you're 40-ish years old and you have been teaching your kids that it's important, and you know, it's something we do on a daily basis. We have two garbage cans in the home, and we really taught the kids what is plastic, what belongs into the one bin and what belongs into the other bin, and it doesn't really work. It doesn't work at all. And then you're sitting there in front of your I had a really nice dinner recently with my wife, and it was just a normal thing. It was, but we looked at the table, and we just saw this amount of plastic which we produce, and we try to be sensitive towards it, but there is literally zero possibility to get cheese from to get cheese from your supermarket without getting plastic at the same time. It doesn't matter what you do. So we thought about it yesterday, and we really deem it's impossible to do this at the moment, because we don't have a store which is giving you plastic free, where you can bring maybe your own little cups and things, and where people can put it inside. So I'm getting a bit confused now, but at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is, if you watch the video, you will realize that there's just one way out of this, and it's not recycling. It is actually avoiding waste. Yeah, this is why I started this little it's impossible to do, to actually live and not produce plastic garbage. So I think we have to really find ways how we can do this, how we can maybe increase recycling, because there's a certain amount of plastic we will probably produce also going forward. And with the growing Earth population, the amount of plastic we will produce will also increase. But at the same time, we really need to think very, very hard, how can we avoid this? And I'm pretty sure there are solutions. It's just, at the moment, I can see that there is no sensitivity towards the subject whatsoever. So when I go into my local supermarket, and I really like it a lot, but it's, you know, I buy a big portion of meat lately, and they put it into, they wrap it with some plastic foil, very thin, and then it goes into a bag, and sometimes they put it into a second bag. So I have 3 foils there for 1 piece of meat, and I carry it home, and it's literally 5 minutes to walk to my home, and then I put the meat into another thing. It's also of plastic, but we'll use it the rest of our life, and we put it inside and put it into the fridge, and the foil goes into the bin, and it was used for round about 15 to 20 minutes. And I would be happy to bring this plastic bowl into the supermarket, and they would just put the meat in there. And I understand that there's maybe germs on my bowl from my household, so they can't do this easily. But there are solutions for this. And there's even supermarkets who are doing these things already, who offer you rentable bowls. So basically, they put something into such a plastic, whatever, box, and then you take the box home and you pay like €5 for the box for renting it. And then when you return the next day and you buy, let's say, cheese, then you return the box, the dirty one, they clean it, and you get a new box. And you, of course, as you just keep paying the 5. Basically, you're more or less leaving the €5 with the thing, yeah. So with the supermarket, but you're not producing then waste as such. Yeah, so I think our sensitivity has to increase, and I think this is what these videos are good for. They increase the sensitivity towards plastic waste. Of course, we individually have to do something about, so we have to be sensitive about it. And if we have a choice, if we are having an opportunity to reduce plastic waste, then of course we should be doing that. And at the same time, it is really important that the politicians are doing something about it. Because as long as they are not really doing something about it, if they are not putting constraints on these big global players, we will continue to produce plastic garbage. And it's an interesting one, because when I didn't know all this recycling stuff, when I still believe that recycling does happen, I of course thought I shouldn't produce too much plastic waste. And at the same time, I realized how over time, when I was young and I bought something which is packaged properly, that in former times it was some form of plastic which was covering the stuff up, and nowadays it's much less plastic and more paper, or we just bought a light, and it was, instead of being in a plastic bag, it was in a cloth bag, so real cotton. And it does also produce a problem, right? Yeah, so cotton is using a lot of CO2, it is using a lot of water, it doesn't come for free either. And I thought, what is better now? I mean, I have to buy this light. I cannot not buy it. And yes, and if I would buy it in a store instead of ordering it from Amazon, I would still drive somewhere, buy the bulb in the light bulb, will still buy it in this bag. So you could argue I could have just bought a light bulb. So nothing beautiful. Yeah, and probably this is where our lifestyle needs to really change. But I think no one of us is really ready for it, not even me. I want to avoid waste, but I don't want to, let's say, get a normal naked light bulb at the top of my room here, and maybe reduce the waste a lot, because no one has to package a light bulb in a very complex way. Yeah, that's probably what is required, though. Well, I wish for us that we and the global politicians in particular, I ask the German government, of course, because this is the one country I'm living in, that they're making those kinds of regulations towards the companies. And what I think is really important is that if you look at the energy crisis we have right now in the global world, and in particular in Germany, I've never seen that our population is so intensively discussing how to save energy since the cost went up like crazy. And that shows me again that in the current world we are living in the current economic system we are living in, we really need to make sure that the waste we produce, the energy we consume, has a realistic price, which really includes all side effects as well. And I think if that happens, if we're making realistic prices for these things, I think then we have a much better and easier way out of waste, energy consumption, and what else there might be. Yeah? So I think right now we have, for whatever reason, plastic is far too cheap to produce. So there's no sensitivity at all for this topic. Energy is very, very costly at the moment, and it's an amazing amount of brain power which now goes from 84 million people into thinking about how to save energy. And actually it's a good sign. It gives me hope, because if if there was nothing we could do, it would be a shame. But there seems to be ways out of this, and I think we are able to do this. So yeah, I would still recommend watching the video. If you're English speaking, I've searched for an English version of this video, and there are tons of people out there who have been researching the topic. One thing I found looked really, really similar. So it's called just type in recycling lie into YouTube, and then you'll find a few probably also very well-researched videos as well. From the headlines this video had, it is very similar to the German one, so I'm sure it is correct in its content and in its main message. And then have a think about what can you do yourself to avoid plastic waste or waste. Have a good one. It helped me talking about it. I hope you are not as deflated as I was when I watched the video. I just watched the last 10-15 minutes just before this one here. So I was a bit deflated again. I was deflated a bit yesterday. Yeah, it is quite shocking. Have a nice day.